Look inside almost any American public school today, and you will see an administration deeply focused on student well-being. The pendulum of educational priorities has swung so far toward reducing stress and protecting emotional health that it has eclipsed almost everything else. Yet, despite all this careful attention to how students feel, the metrics of what they actually know are collapsing. High school seniors are posting reading scores we haven't seen since the 1990s, and math proficiency has hit multi-decade lows. We are left with a strange contradiction. A system that explicitly claims to care for students more than at any point in history is simultaneously presiding over historic rates of academic failure. Author and commentator Allie Beth Stuckey provides a framework to understand this disconnect. She examines how modern progressive priorities can distort our sense of care. She calls it toxic empathy. This happens when our natural impulse for compassion is hijacked to affirm falsehoods, ignore consequences, and eliminate personal accountability. Instead of helping vulnerable people, this version of empathy functions to protect the feelings of the adults in charge. It shields institutions from having to face hard truths, while the people they are supposed to be helping suffer the long-term consequences. Applying this logic to education reveals the specific mechanics of failure. When schools eliminate checkpoints to spare students from stress, they allow academic gaps to widen, effectively guaranteeing that children fall further behind as they move through the system. You can see this mechanism at work in the systematic removal of high-stakes testing. Years ago, policymakers in California spearheaded this by eliminating the state's high school exit exam. Strict proficiency requirements were quietly replaced by relaxed equivalency programs. The stated goal behind tearing down these barriers was to close equity gaps and make graduating easier for everyone. This line graph visualizes data from the Nation's Report Card, or NAEP. It shows the trajectory of reading scores over the past decade, revealing a continuous decline that extends well past the pandemic and keeps falling through 2024. Adding math performance to this chart shows an even starker reality. Look at the specific drop-off following 2019. Recovery here remains incomplete, leaving the average 8th grader a full year behind where their peers were just a few years ago. These national and state trends echo loudly at the local level. In regions like Shasta County, proficiency rates in county programs and many districts are lagging even the state averages, directly reflecting the impact of these broader policy shifts. Taking away educational gates in the name of compassion did not create equity. It simply allowed severe gaps in reading and math to persist unchecked right into adulthood. Higher education adopted the exact same playbook. During the pandemic, colleges across the country made the SAT and ACT optional for applicants. Administrators defended this move by arguing it would expand access. They claimed that removing the test requirement would reduce structural barriers for low-income students. But researchers at Dartmouth College recently reviewed their internal admissions data and found that the policy accomplished the exact opposite. This chart compares admission rates based on testing behavior. It shows that high-achieving students from disadvantaged backgrounds frequently assume their scores won't help them and choose not to submit them. By withholding that data, they forfeit an objective advantage that would materially improve their odds of getting in. If we shift the chart to look at high school transcripts, we see their reliability dropping drastically due to widespread grade inflation. Meanwhile, the standardized test line remains stable, offering the only objective benchmark to identify capable students from underfunded schools. When you remove objective tests, admissions offices have to rely on subjective criteria. Those criteria inherently favor wealthy families with resources for extracurriculars and coaching, actively hurting the exact demographic the test optional policy claimed to protect. This creates a brutal downstream effect. Students graduate high school believing they are ready, only to arrive on college campuses and immediately filter into remedial classes to learn the basics they were never taught. Because they lack the foundational skills, many of these students will drop out before earning a degree, yet they still acquire immense, unforgiving financial debt along the way. The illusion of equity breaks down under scrutiny. Toxic empathy leaves capable, low-income students disadvantaged in the admissions process, while simultaneously saddling unprepared students with debt they cannot escape. Genuine compassion in the classroom requires actionable steps. It means implementing proven phonics-based reading instruction, demanding explicit math teaching that builds true mastery, and using honest assessments that tell us exactly where a student stands. Clear proficiency requirements serve as essential diagnostic tools. They reveal exactly where a student needs support, ensuring that instructional interventions lead to mastery rather than just temporary comfort. If we fail to restore these standards, the societal price will be severe. We are looking at a permanently de-skilled workforce and the steady erosion of the merit-based pathways that make true economic mobility possible. The most compassionate thing we can do for the next generation is to firmly refuse to accept low performance. Every student deserves the dignity of high expectations and the practical tools required to meet them. The framework and data for this breakdown were drawn from Rex Ballard's article, Toxic Empathy in Education. You can find that piece over at Shasta Unfiltered, a platform dedicated to serving the North State with honest news, local updates, and entertainment. Head over to shastaunfiltered.com or scan the code on screen to read the full article and explore their ongoing local reporting. If you found this breakdown helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a parent or educator who needs to understand what's at stake for our students.